Yo guys, what's up? So in this video I'll teach you everything you need to know about how to build on Darius in season 2025. Before we get started, quick background on myself. I've been maining Darius since 2018, so season 8. And I've managed to reach masters multiple times only playing Darius. Alright, so getting into the build. Let's start off with the starting items. So what most Darius players go is Doran's Blade, because Darius is obviously an aggressive fighter. This synergizes well with his kit, gives him lifesteal, AD, and some health. Overall a great pick. Doran Shield is the more safer approach. I wouldn't recommend it versus most melee champions, but in the most matchups where you get poked down, so like Gnar, Quinn, those types of matchups, Doran Shield is a must-have. But yeah, this item is purely situational, and when it's good, it's really good. But most of the time you don't want to go Doran Shield. And for my personal favorite of what to start is Longsword. It's not the traditional way to start, but it's my favorite way, and I almost go every game with Longsword. Why? Because it lets you buy refillable potion level 1, which gives you actually a pretty good sustain, and you don't waste the gold with the Doran's items. Now, when I say this, Doran's items give great value for money, so they're really good to buy early. But when you get Longsword first item, the gold goes directly towards your next item, which gives you an advantage basically. So yeah, Longsword is incredibly greedy to go, Longsword refillable, but it's my preferred way. Next up, boots. So boots, ideally on Darius, you never want to go tier 2 boots before you get your first item. Now this is general, so not every time this is like this. So when you desperately need tabbies, you get it straight away. It works best this way. But most of the matchups you don't need tier 2 boots early on. So let's say you're versus a Jax. Tier 2 boots, in this case tabbies, would give you a lot of value early on. In this case, you can actually start cloth armor, first item. Yes, I know. It actually works out, because first buy, first back, you get the boots instantly basically. But yeah, more on tabbies. Tabbies you don't want to buy most of the time. They're not the best boots on Darius. They're purely versus auto attack champions, and I wouldn't recommend going tabbies if they only have, for example, the top laner is playing a set, for example. I wouldn't recommend that. What I would recommend you getting steel caps is when they have multiple, for example, like a Master Yi in the jungle and a heavy auto attack ADC. What I would recommend, the boots you buy the most is boots of swiftness. Why? Simple. They give the most amount of movement speed, which Darius desperately needs. Now this season, Darius isn't too bad with movement speed, because we have the tier 3 boots now. This synergized with Deadman's Plate and the rune set we'll talk about. They have incredible movement speed power. It's truly good. It's really good. It's very hard to kite Darius in this season with the right setup. So most of the time you get Swifties. However, if they have way too much CC, I'm talking about at least 2 champions that have hard CC. For example, they have an R top, which have hard CC when he gets his form, and the Leona. You don't want to deal with all that. You go Mercs every time in that situation. But the games that they don't have hard CC, you go Swifties always. So yeah, the boots I would buy in order are first Swifties, then Mercs if they have too much CC, then lastly steel caps if they have way too much AD. This is how I would prioritize it though. If they have a lot of CC and a lot of auto attack, you always go Mercs. Always. No point in surviving if you cannot move or use your champion. Now, first item. First item on Darius, you have an option. Both of these are good. There's no going bad. This is purely preference. Stride Breaker is the more popular option. It can be situational, but a lot of Darius players just buy it always. It's a really good item, but I prefer Trinity Force. I always go Trinity Force over Stride Breaker. I don't really like Stride Breaker. Not to say it's bad, just Trinity works so well with Darius. The Sheen proc with your W, it's really good. It feels really nice on Darius. But yeah, just play around with these two. But yeah, usually you want to go either or. None of these are bad option, but yeah. Now, second item. So usually you go one of these, tier 2 boots then, and then are your second main item. So second item, most of the time you want to go Sterak's Gauge, always. Sterak's Gauge is huge on Darius. It scales with your base AD, so the more levels you have, the more AD it gives you. It gives you tenacity as well, which is so important on Darius. It's huge. This way you don't have to buy mercs every game. And it gives you health, which you desperately need after you finish Trinity, because Trinity doesn't give you enough health and you're way too squishy on Darius to do anything. That's why you go Sterak's Gauge. It gives you a good balance of AD and health, which is great, honestly. If you need more movement speed, which is very situational, you can go Deadman's Plate second item. This is not the ideal option because you will lack a lot of damage, which Sterak's gives you. Second item, most of the time you want to go Sterak's Gauge. Sometimes you can go Deadman's. It's not bad, it's actually kind of good, but yeah, Sterak's is the better option. Now for the third item, you can buy the one that you didn't buy on the second item. So if you bought Sterak's, you can buy Deadman's Plate third item. These are his core 3 items. So after you get these 3 items, the items you will buy will vary depending on the situation and simply what items you prefer. So here we have all the items that are good. You can't go wrong with any of these items. You can buy whatever you like. But a quick rundown on the items. Usually Force of Nature is the go-to item after these, because you get some MR and it gives you even more movement speed, which funnels into your Boots of Swiftness, especially if you have tier 3. You gain movement speed on a percentage, so the more movement speed you have, the more percentage you have. So yeah, Force of Nature is my fourth item of choice, but as I said, it's purely situational. If you're really far ahead and you want to snowball, most of the time you want to get a damage item, another damage item. So in that case, Destance is a really good item. It lets you ignore 30% of damage taken over 3 seconds. But not only that, if you kill them within that time, you get a chunk of health back. Another really good item is Overlord. So this item, basically, the lower you are, the more AD you gain. Which on Darius, the lower you are, the more you heal off of your Q. So this item synergizes really good on Darius, and it's highly recommended from my side. Now, in this split, Spear of Shojin is really popular on Darius. This basically increases your passive damage. And yeah, moving on, Titanic Hydra. So Titanic Hydra is great if you want to stack your passive really quickly. So, quick demonstration of Titanic Hydra. So yeah, there's the rotation with Titanic Hydra. It feels really good on Darius, and it is really good. One thing is it scales off of health. So the more health you are, if you have a health oriented build, the more damage you do with Titanic Hydra. And last off, Spirit Visage. Obviously it gives you more healing and more shields. So Sterak's Gauge is a shield. So it increases your Sterak's shield as well. So yeah, you can't go wrong with any of these items, and I would recommend all of them. Just try what you like. Now, the what ifs. So these items, either you buy them really situationally or you buy them for fun, basically. So Divine Sunderer. Divine Sunderer is an item that everyone likes to buy on Darius, but sadly it isn't the best. Not that it's not good, just the other items are better. If you want to buy it, it's decently good on Darius. You can pull it off. But basically, your first auto will crit and restore health. I like to buy this item when I'm snowballing and I don't care what I build and I just want to have fun. This item when you're snowballing is really fun to buy. So Hexplate. Hexplate is not too shabby. After you ult, you get a percentage of movement speed, which you can use. But yeah, it's mostly for fun. And yeah, it's a fun item to buy on Darius, but it's, yeah, needless to say, not the best. Black Cleaver, I would only buy Black Cleaver if they have more than 3 tanks. 3 tanks are minimum to buy Black Cleaver. Otherwise, I wouldn't even consider buying Black Cleaver. So if they have Orned Up, a tank jungler and a tank support, then I would consider buy Black Cleaver, but I wouldn't buy it if they have 1 or 2 tanks. The value just isn't there, because on Darius you already have your E, which gives you passive armor penetration. So your E, when it's maxed out, you get 40% armor penetration, which is huge. One thing to note is Black Cleaver shreds armor. What that means is you'll take away the armor of the champion permanently until you stop hitting them and the passive wears off. So your whole team can do more damage to that tank. Now for healing reduction, if you need healing reduction, most of the time you go Chainsword. Why? Because it gives you damage, and more damage is most of the time better on Darius. The only time I would go Tormail or Darius is when they're full AD only and you need the Tormail passive. That's basically it. Otherwise, I always go Chainsword. Randuins you can buy when they have way too much critical strike damage or they have a very giga-fed critical strike damage champion on the team. Unending Despair, this ain't too bad, but you need to synergize it well with other items such as Spirit Visage, and this basically goes well with a very unkillable Darius build. Like for example, you go Death Stand, Spirit Visage into an Unending Despair. This can be a very fun item, but it's not the best if you just build it alone. This item can be an option, but most of the time you do not want to buy it. You can if you want. This just gives you a straight up shield. It's good for straight up damage when you take it, but most of the time you just want to get the other MR items like Force of Nature or Spirit Visage. Last up, Servant's Fang. Servant's Fang is not that bad on Darius actually. It might seem troll to some people, but it's actually really good when it's really good. So Serpent's Fang, just basically all it does is shred shields. That's basically all it does. When they have way too much shields, feel free to buy this item. I wouldn't buy it early on at all. This is a 4th or a 5th item always. But yeah, only buy this item as well when you're snowballing. Don't buy this item when you're behind, of course, of the stats that gives. It's just purely damage. The items that I see some Darius players buying and that are not good on him at all. First up, Jack Show. Jack Show, it can be a for fun item, but I would never recommend it purely because the other items are all better and you have limited slots to buy items. Jack Show works best with tanks. It increases your armor and magic resist on a percentage base. So the more resistances you have, the more it gives you. Darius, you don't want to just build resistance. You need a good balance of damage and tanky. Purely for that, Jack Show isn't the best on Darius. So yeah, don't make the mistake of getting this item over other items like Death Stance, Deadman's Blade, Spirit Visage, etc. Guardian Angel. Guardian Angel can be good on cooldown when it's really late game or you want to push the last fight, but most of the time you don't want to get GA. The other items are just most of the time better. Mo, you never want to buy Mo on Darius. If they have 5 AP champions, maybe consider it. If not, don't look at this item. Purely because if you buy Mo, you cannot buy Sterix Gauge after, and Sterix Gauge works way too well on Darius to not buy. every game you want to get Sterak's Gauge on Darius unless you're for funning it. So yeah, for that reason, never buy Mo on Darius. For fun items that can work on Darius actually. These items may seem troll, but they're very good if you're snowballing. So Yomu's gives you movement speed. It's basically another ghost. If you need the movement speed and you're not far behind, you can actually buy this item and it works decently well with him. Mind you, it's a very greedy item, so you have to be snowballing with Darius to buy it. But yeah, it's actually very good. Next up, Infinity Edge. Darius passive gives him more AD. Infinity Edge gives you crit and critical strike damage, which the more AD you have, the more damage you will do. If you want to buy a for fun item, you're giga fed. This item you will one-shot people with your W. If you get stacks and you flash W on a champion, they will die if you have Infinity Edge. Phantom Dancer feels good on theirs when you buy it. Mind you, you have to be very fat to pull this item off, but when you buy it, you get the movement speed and the crit. The attack speed you can make do without, but yeah, overall the item works well on Darius when you're playing for fun. When you just want to have some fun with items, you have the last item, you don't know what to buy, you just whatever. These three items all can work. First Trinity, then you get boots. Your second item you will get Sterak's Gauge. Third item you will get Deadman's most of the time. Your fourth item, most of the time you want to get a damage item of your choice of these. And last item you want to get a tanky item to help you survive through the late game damage, and you have time to proc your passive basically. Now, as for runes, 99% of the time you want to go Conqueror. It's basically the best rune on Darius. It synergizes very well with his passive, which is great. It gives you more damage, more stacks, and a bit of healing on top as well. You want to take Triumph only. These give you no benefit on Darius. Triumph is the best. Legend of Alacrity for the movement speed. These you don't really need. This is basically ability haste. And lifesteal. Lifesteal you don't need on Darius. You have more than enough healing. Ability haste, if you want to do a certain builds, could be nice, but most of the time you want the attack speed. It helps you proc your passive faster. And lastly, you will want to take Last Stand. Coup de Grace is really good as well on Darius. This is purely situational, but Last Stand generally is a little bit better. Last Stand gives you more damage the lower you are, which on Darius most of the time you're low because you need time to stack your passive, and the lower you are the more you heal, so you spend a lot of time on low HP. Coup de Grace, the lower the champion is, the more damage you do, which on Darius his ult is a execute, so that's arguable if you want to take Coup de Grace. But yeah, most of the time if you want to play it safe, just go Last Stand. This is the very basic. Everyone goes on this rune page. Yeah. As for secondary, my personal favorite is Nimbus Cloak into Celerity. This is just basically more movement speed for you. Synergizes good with the traditional Darius build. But yeah, if you want, you can take Axiom Arcanist, which basically just increases your ult damage, which is great because your ult resets. So yeah, you can decide what you want to take there, if you want more ult damage or Nimbus Cloak for more movement speed, especially when you prog Ghost. Yeah, this helps you out a lot. It's basically personal preference. Secondary runes, you can also take Resolve. Sorcery most of the time is better. Resolve you can take if you want. If you go Resolve, you got a lot of options. You can go Demolish. It helps you a lot early game to get plates. Second Wind will help you survive laning phase versus ranged champions. Bone Plating will help you survive all-in trades for like Riven for example, or Aurelia for example, champions like that. Conditioning just give you more resistance stats. All of these are basically good on Darius. You can take whatever you like. Unflinching just give you some resistance stats. I wouldn't recommend this. It's not bad, but yeah, the other ones are better. And Revitalize, probably the best one in this resolve page. Revitalize just gives you more heal and shield power. But yeah, needless to say, it's good on Darius. Now here on this page, you want to get attack speed always. You can go Adaptive Force here. I like to get the little bit more movement speed and tenacity or health. All of these are decent, but yeah, this is my preferred rune page. This is what I grown to like and what I feel is best on Darius. Now you can take Phase Rush on Darius, but I would not recommend it at all. So basically Phase Rush, you lose a lot by taking it because you don't take Conqueror, which is very good on Darius. It feels nice to use in certain matchups, but overall you always feel the loss of Conqueror when you take it. If you want to take it, you can. This is what I would run on Phase Rush, but yeah, most of the time I would prefer to take the Conqueror setup. Now, if you want to play Darius and just want to have fun, you can take as well Hail of Blades. Don't take this in your ranked games, you will feed. But if you want to just have fun, Hail of Blades basically lets you stack your passive instantly, basically. Your first 3 autos will be hyper fast. You can take Sorcery or Precision second. Would run this if you want to take Precision. But yeah, that's it. Hopefully you enjoyed this build. If you're hearing this, then you watched all of the video, which I thank you for. If you have any suggestions, or if you want me to go more in depth on certain topics, just let me know in the comments. And thanks for watching, guys. Peace.